That's right, Floyd. No, I thought they were here because we're using it. He was here.
Tiny, portable, keyboard, and mouse. If I ever need to work on something weird, and I always just want keyboard.
That looked pretty cool, actually. That boy looks familiar.
Ready?
Just 4 minutes after she will get started, I'll go ahead. Our board order. Start off as always with our opening prayer.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here today. We just ask that you watch over us and give us wisdom as we go through business for the county, and just let us make the right decisions that's beneficial for the community. Just ask that you be with the families that are grieving and hurting, that's lost loved ones. Just give grace upon them. We ask all these things in your precious name, in Jesus' name, amen.
What we're doing, Gene, I'll let him do our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we need to let Mr. Eagle call his board.
We'll call the school board to meet order, and Jan, we have attendance.
Mr. Bishop?
Here.
Mr. Ingram?
Yeah.
Ms. Leroy? Here. Ms. Snelling? Here. Ms. Best? Here. Dr. Drummond? Here.
Very good.
All right, welcome everybody. Mr. Phillips,
Here.
Mr. Cox,
Here.
Ms. Cookenberg,
Here.
Mr. Booth,
Here.
and Mr. Turner.
Here. We'll check y'all's form and then. Oh, did you? I'm behind. All right, we'll go ahead and start a budget workshop or whatever business is necessary. So, I'll turn it over to the school board, give y'all's presentation.
All right, well, thank you all for having this time with you today. We know it is very early in your budget process, but as one of the biggest budget challenges we have is timing. Our budget is due to you April 1st. You all have a little bit to get your budget together. The state has who knows how long to get theirs to us, and the federal government gets us their stuff in September. So it makes budgeting very fun. But this year there are some unique things. I feel like we've been saying that every year lately, that we just wanted to kind of get on your radar and start the discussion about.
Yes, sir. Could you turn that table there a little bit, some of the ones on the end can't.
I can see.
You can see?
All right,
I can see.
Okay,
We're good.
Thank you.
thank you, Judy.
As we always do, we start with objectives. What are the objectives with our budget? And this year, they're very similar to what they've been the past couple of years. That is looking at recruiting and retaining our staff and replacing our aging transportation and improving our infrastructure. So I'm going to let Mr. Booth talk a little bit about the technical aspects that went into making this budget unique.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I do appreciate this time, and I look forward to every year the 1 or 2 times I get to come before you and talk school board budgets. But before we get started, I just want to say that you know, I am proud to say that this is my 11th budget process cycle with Floyd County Public Schools, and it's been an honor to do that to this point, and hope to be able to do that going forward for a long time. And I will say that every year from the beginning, when the budget process is done, I think, wow, like, we will never, like, we've experienced it all. That there's not gonna be anything new, there's not gonna be anything catch us off guard. Man, this year's the year we've checked all the boxes and we're good to go, we're smooth sailing going forward. And every year I've been wrong with that. You know, starting out 11 and a half years ago, when I was first hired, you know, just the communication between the boards wasn't the greatest. Going into, you know, talking about cutting expenditures and local funding, yada, yada, yada. Again, aging infrastructure, busted climb, we get all that, then boom, COVID hits, that puts a whole nother issue into budgeting. All the post-COVID expenditures that have happened since COVID has been challenging. The skinny budget, we all went through the skinny budget where we're working a budget that we, you know, didn't even get to October, November, whenever it was. And then, you know, most recently the LCI change over the past couple bienniums, and really I thought, hey, after the LCI that we've checked all the boxes of things that we could potentially run into. And again, I was wrong with that. And so now in FY27 we do really have a new challenge ahead of us, but I personally do not view it as a challenge. I think it's an opportunity, and I think it's an opportunity in a big way. And I've just got 4 or 5 slides here before I turn it over to Dr. Cromer, but I hope you guys see as this presentation goes forward, this really should not be viewed as a challenge. It should be viewed as an opportunity for Floyd County Public Schools, the community, and everything in between. So kind of getting started into the slides, I do think it's important that we define 2 terms right out of the gate that really to this point has not really been a huge issue. At times, some of the terms get intermingled, they get misused, they get confused for being the same terms, but they're really not. And the 2 terms that I just want to point out is required local effort, and then the next one we'll talk about is required local match. Okay? You know, I'm not going to read you these slides, but what I would point out when we talk about required local effort, there's 2 words, minimum and meets. Okay, so in the first paragraph there, you can see that required local effort is the minimum amount localities must fund towards public school education. And we all know that, right? And then the second word down there at the bottom is meets. It ensures that the locality meets all the state mandated standards and requirements set forth by the Code of Virginia. So again, a lot of people say, hey, this is the bare bones of what a locality, city, state, whatever, city, county, whatever, has to put towards education in Virginia. And to this point, every year, there's been no issues with the county's funds meeting required local effort. There's been no issue at all. It really hasn't even been close. Every year, once a year, the school board has to certify to the DOE that yes, your locality has checked the box of required local effort, and we've been able to check that box every year through FY26. Okay, so the second one is required local match. All right, so this one's a little bit multi-layered. Okay, so when you use the term local match, that includes the amount of local effort. Okay, but then in addition to the local effort, it also contains the local share of, we've got 6 listed there. It includes the local share of opt-in funds that the school system has opted into every year. So when we opt into these revenue streams, the state gives us a portion, but then the locality still matches their responsibility on that. Again, to date, we have been, the school system has been able to certify every year that the county has provided enough funds for us to opt into all of these revenue streams, and that they have met their requirement of providing the local share to move forward with that. That's it on that one. Okay. So just kind of as a side-by-side, this is FY26 we're living now, and FY27 which we're working on. So the data on the left there is your FY26 data based on the General Assembly's House Bill 1600 that was presented on February 27th, 2025. Okay, so we constructed our budget on an average daily membership of 1571. Once you do that, the calc tool that's provided to us, which is available online, I can show it to any of you guys at any point in time. Based on an ADM of 1571, it says, hey, here's the required local effort. Based on ADM of 1571, and if you were to opt into all the additional revenue streams, the required local match, which is part of effort, is 7.834 in this example. You can see that the county contribution was 7.9. So again, we were able to certify to the state, hey, they've met effort, they've met match, life is good. Okay. So when we started working on the budget back in December with the governor's proposed, as you can see over here on the right, we're projecting an ADM of 1578. As you go down the columns there, it's saying, hey, required local effort is 7.2, and required local match is 9.5 for all the additional opt-in revenue streams that we have opted into ever since I've been here, for sure. So again, you can see that, I mean, if you're looking at effort or match, both of those are quite a bit of a hefty jump there. And when me and Dr. Kramer were sitting there looking at it, you know, obviously the first question that kind of comes to your mind is why? Why is that jump so significant? We had a good idea, we had our assumptions, but at that point we did reach out to the DOE, and we had about a 30-minute virtual meeting with Ed Lanza, who is the director of budget for the Department of Education, and basically just said, hey, why the jump here? Okay, so again, it comes down to kind of two main reasons why the jump, and so the first one, okay, would be re-benchmarking. All right, it's a term you've probably heard. We actually pulled those two bullet points off of the BDOE presentation that they gave. But again, I'm not going to read it to you, but I do have a couple points that, you know, re-benchmarking happens every biennium, okay, or every 2 years. Okay, they go in, they assess the cost. This definition says such as, so there is a list of a handful of areas that are reevaluated, but it's not all inclusive. Again, when they re-benchmark, the costs and the inputs change, but the way their funding methodology does not change. Okay, it's a 28-step process that started in June and it concluded in October. Okay, so it's a very lengthy process, and there's many departments that are involved in this re-benchmarking process. You've got the Department of Taxation, Department of Planning and Budget, the Virginia Lottery, Department of Education. Those are the four main departments or entities that are involved in this re-benchmarking process. Just to throw a little bit of data at you on that, for Floyd County Public Schools, for the biennium, the re-benchmarking came to about $2.2 million for Floyd County alone. Statewide, $1.2 billion in re-benchmarking across the state.
So that's added money that the state, they're increasing their portion of our budget because it costs more for teachers, it costs more for these things now.
Right, everything is going up, whether it's salaries, materials and supply, everything is going up. That's nothing new to you guys. You all are well aware of that. again, I'll say I do have several presentations, several slideshows from the DOE on re-benchmarking. So if that's something that you would like to look at, please send me an email, give me a call, text, say, hey, send me those slides. I'll be happy to do that for you. Okay, then obviously the second factor we've talked about here for several years now is the local composite index. And, you know, probably for this biennium, this one probably had a lesser effect than the benchmarking process did. But just because I am a numbers guy and have some data here, you know, just as a reminder, the LCI is an index of saying, you know, this is what the locality's ability should be able to pay for state public education. You know, we've all got our opinions on it. Is it a broken system? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this is where we're at. I know we all got opinions on it. I got opinions on it. Janet tells me once a week that my 2 cents is worth more than $1, because when I get going, that I just don't shut up. So Janet tells me that once a week. I'll miss that on April 30th when she's no longer there. But my wife might be able to verify that too. But again, the 3 values that go into LCI, I know this is a review for a lot of you guys, but and the weight associated with it. You know, you can see the 27-28 biennium. Again, it's based on 2023 data. Okay, so it is catching. You can see from 2 bienniums ago to last biennium, there's about a 5% jump, and that's basically a 5% swing saying, hey, based on this index, 5% more needs to be coming from the county than the state. And then the proposed biennium that we're getting ready to deal with, it had about a 2.2%. So it shifted another 2.2% to the locality from the state. So over the past 4 years, you know, you're looking at a 7.7% swing just right out of the gate on LCI. Again, I've got a ton of slides and data and how we rank compared to our neighbors and to those in Northern Virginia. It's a very straightforward document. I think I shared it earlier too, but if you have any desire to see any LCI information on how Floyd ranks compared to, just shoot me an email. I'll send it off to you. It's pretty self-intuitive and very easy to work through. But I think that's probably all for LCI. So, yeah.
That's all.
So the last slide that I'll speak before I turn it back over to Dr. Cromer is that when we did speak to Ed Lanza, he referenced us to a report that the DOE has to do every year that they have to present to the General Assembly. And so we did find it online, and we found this was a chart in their report. And basically what it's saying, you can ignore the 2 black boxes. Those were opt-in revenue streams that Floyd County didn't qualify for. And you can kind of see on that second to last column, a lot of school divisions didn't qualify for it. I don't even know what they were. But you can kind of see the 6 opt-in revenue streams that we referenced back earlier in the slide. And that for FY26, which we're living now, only 2 or 3 school divisions, for whatever reason, did not participate or did not opt in to those revenue streams, which, you know, also meant that then the localities there, that was a local share that they did not have to match because they did not opt into it. I did not dig down in to see who those 2 divisions were. We weren't provided that information, but anyway, I thought that was a pretty interesting chart just to share. It was probably appropriate to share in this presentation. All right, so that's kind of the X's and O's of it, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Cromer to kind of talk budget objectives.
So as we sat down with all that information, you know, how do we start meeting our budget objectives? And as you may have heard, every month when I come visit with you, you mentioned staff salaries and buses. with this increased RLM, it would go to great lengths for us to address both of those needs. As always, we really appreciate your trust in our management of the funds. We continue to be transparent and just as a result of that, want to share some facts and figures that are part of our current budget draft that we're working on. So the first one is obviously salaries. We've had several conversations about this. So when we look, and that's not a good feeling to be, a good place to be. And then recently, the VEA released their salary studies, and when we looked at that, we saw the problem wasn't just our region, it's statewide. Starting salaries, we ranked 124th out of 131 divisions. And you can see that that trend continues no matter where you fall on years of experience. We stay in the bottom 9% for teacher salaries, and the same is also true for our support staff. But we rank in the top third in student performance. Our staff continue to put out a fabulous product despite their low pay, because to them it's all about the students. What we're doing is important, it's rewarding, but that's not going to sustain them for the long term, as they can easily move into a neighboring division and increase their salary by $6,000 to $8,000 a year. So this budget uses those additional local match funds to make our salaries more competitive, and it's going to take that much money to make those salaries competitive. A simple 3% or 5% raise is not going to get us close to them, because they're doing 3% and 5% as well. We put significant adjustments to our support staff. You know, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers. You know, Floyd County is the largest employer in Floyd County Public Schools is the largest employer in Floyd County. And when we make things good for our employees, we make things good for the whole of Floyd County. So the next priority we looked at was buses. So when we look at the actual numbers, and I know we've talked about them a lot, but to see them in writing, we have 38 buses that are on regular routes every day. Of those 38, we have 8 that are classified as good condition. 11 are going to need replacing in the next 3 to 5 years. 11 need replacing now, and 8 we're not even sure how they're still going. We had 4 break down yesterday morning. That's a typical thing. We have 13 spare buses, and those buses are even older than our they've been pulled off routes, and they're sitting there for spares when one's getting worked on. So the average age of the buses on routes is 13 years. The VDOE recommends you replace a bus starting at 15 years. When we add in our spare buses to that average, the average age of all of our buses in our fleet is 15 years old. So we were set when the LCI increased 2 years ago to do another loan to purchase a set of buses. That hasn't been able to happen for the past 2 years. So we just, again, keep getting further behind. So this budget, those additional funds would allow us to purchase 3 buses outright, because when we did the math, if we do another loan, which now, you know, a bus is $160,000, to do a loan, we would get less buses than we did our previous loan, and we would pay on them for anywhere from 3 to 6 years. Meanwhile, only increasing or improving our fleet by those, 6 buses. So it would be more financially efficient to not pay financing charges and be able to just buy buses outright for a couple years and get ahead on all these that desperately need replacing. So we put 3 buses purchased outright in this draft budget so that we can start updating the fleet quicker because it needs it. And then the third counter priority or third factor really follows the first objective, looking at our employee benefits, increasing the employer portion of health insurance. Just like everything else, the cost is rising, and we want to kind of minimize that out-of-pocket cost to our employees. insurance rates when I offer jobs, no matter teacher, support staff. They have been cited as reasons people have declined a job, because they can get better insurance other places. So when we look at our objectives again, once we got done with the draft, we felt it really meets the goal, our first objective. Like it really moves us forward in our goal of attracting and retaining great staff. For the second objective, we were able to make a dent in our transportation needs, but this current budget doesn't put a dent in the infrastructure needs. We did increase the materials and supplies line and maintenance because we still have to continue fixing everything that's breaking. But those larger HVAC, asphalt, and structural projects, they'll be informed from the capital improvement plan that we're working on this spring, and no doubt those will be critical issues to discuss in the coming years. But just kind of in closing, that required funding amount from the BDOE would provide significant forward progress for our goals, but also for our larger community. When you think about the compensation alone, is going to be life-changing for lots of families in our community. And as Mr. Booth mentioned at the beginning, this is really an opportunity to make headway on some large deficits, because those deficits are not shrinking. There's still a lot of things left to decide, a lot of, your discussions, the General Assembly discussions. So we realize again that it's early, but we just appreciate the time to get in front of you early in this process, and we're looking forward to more opportunities to collaborate to help address these issues, because like I said, they're not gonna go away. Haven't went away in the 3 years that I've been coming before you. So that's really our formal presentation to give information, so we're happy to entertain any questions or comments.
I don't have a question, I've got a comment maybe that I would just say, dealing with the compensations for staff. I never really, when my wife was working in the school system, I never said nothing, but now she's out of the school system. But this sort of statistic is sort of staggering when you think about this. Now this would be directed more towards support staff, right? Maybe instead of the teacher, but this statistic here, if you look at the career development at vocational center, that is going really well, and those kids are excelling and doing a great job. But let's think the student who gets out for work release and is learning different trades and so forth. And let's just say that student has some support staff when he's in school or when she's in school to help. When that student leaves school to do the vocational trades or work release program, that student is making more per hour than what the support staff that is helping them at school is, which is, mind blowing. So there's definitely a gap there.
And to your point too, Mr. Cox, we've cut positions, we've not bought buses to try to give any little thing we could to staff salaries, but we were able to give 3% last year, but again, that's not going to catch us up.
I think when you look at the inflation rate from last year, it's 11.5%. And then you look at the raise that we give these people, why would you save it? When you can go next door and make more money. But these people are staying here because they love the kids and they care about the kids in the school. I mean, they should be entitled to a fair salary like their colleagues in other counties. Do we not do them a disservice to not give it on that?
So let's talk about some other things too. Your health insurance, What are we doing these days with health insurance? Is it still that big fund and people
We're
pay in?
self-funded.
Yeah.
We are self-funded.
Has that proven to be the wisest choice?
Yes.
And can you explain to us why?
Yes, because we are able to then work with our rates instead of going with what Anthem says we have to go with.
Okay.
We are able to mitigate, oh, well, we have so much in this fund, we're putting this much, we can mitigate this and determine our rates ourselves without being told this is what they have to be. Obviously, we set them to cover our expected costs.
Right.
But sometimes, companies who manage your insurance companies will set a rate that not only covers your cost, but gives them some money too. And so we do feel like it's stressful, but it is, it is
Yeah.
the most fiscally responsible, we think.
All right, so in this self-funded process, employees pay into the system, the school matches? No, so it's just,
We have an employer portion, which
Right.
currently is about $8,000 a year. And
Per-
per employee, is
Okay.
what we pay. And then the employee covers the rest depending on what plan they choose. Janet,
Right.
feel free to interrupt me if I'm.
and you want to help address that situation as
Yes,
well?
take their monthly, so they're paying a monthly premium. And
Right.
for for families, it's expensive.
hard.
Um,
And so in doing so, that becomes sort of like a bit of a raise,
Yes.
in a sense. Okay.
If we can
It's-
reduce that, correct? If we can reduce that by putting more in the fund.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It becomes a raise. I
Yes,
mean, I've talked to my board about this on a number of occasions. I mean,
However small, like we're talking. I mean,
$90 a month.
$90.
would be what in this draft budget, it would be about $1,000 annually, divided by
Okay.
12. It'd be about a $90 a month raise, or if you want to call it a raise or reduction. But I mean, the other thing you got going on is the insurance premiums that we're getting back, which we haven't even got our new rates back
Right.
yet. So again, I mean, that's just the timing of the budget. I mean, we're guessing at what
so,
Computer,
so what is
computer
the,
and services, they found out ours is going up 19%.
And see, with being self-funded, we can say, maybe we can do 15, we can.
Right.
You can also, that's why I was making that point, keep going.
and how many percent of your, employees are part of your insurance?
We have about 214 employees out of the 350-ish.
Right, okay, so 214 out of 350, okay.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's why too, in the past, I mean, we always try to do the raise first, because that impacts 100%, or to your point, only 2/3 is getting that benefit, if you look at it in that regard.
Understood.
And that's why we
Janet always gets mad at us during the budget process, because she wants that to be one of the top priorities, but she gets vetoed there, and we put raises ahead of that.
Right.
And also, there's a periodic review of what we're doing. There's a committee, I don't know how often they meet, to
Right.
kind of look at different options and make sure that we're still pursuing the most cost-effective and
Okay.
best coverage for our employees.
Dr. Kromer, on the like salary scales and so forth, are we competitive? Well, I know we're not competitive on the teacher side of things or support staff, but on the, is that across the board all the way up through the administration? Okay.
We've hired several central office level positions the past few years, and I will also say that being small, we don't have very many of those. We all just wear many hats in those instances, and so when we have tried to hire for those, we've had folks from outside of Floyd looking, and they would have gotten like this one individual that I'm thinking of in particular would have only gotten like a $4,000 raise to move from an assistant principal to a director position with us. So it's across the board.
Do you expect any retirements this year that like won't be filled or any of that stuff?
I don't know how we could anymore. Like last year we
Yeah, we did that last year.
Yeah, we did want to make the 3% raise a business teacher, so we lost we lost 6 sections of business classes. I don't know, I mean, it would be, we would have to start looking at support staff, and then you're asking teachers to do more on their own too, so. The past, I know I've had 3 budgets, we've made several positions, we've absorbed them to, absorb the increased cost of things, and I know under my predecessor, there was lots of positions absorbed with, and declining enrollment allowed that to be, and it just, that and, COVID money, we could fill some of these gaps better. We were able to redo the salary scales with that, under his tenure, but there's.
And that's what we would be doing now
Yeah.
we would be redoing the teacher scale.
And the support staff.
So Joe and I have been here the longest, and we remember, how this came about a while ago, where we adjusted the scales, we looked at new buses, there was a greater desire to want to get a better fleet on the road, salary scales and such. And the board supported all of that as best we could at the time. You just said inflation was at 11.5%, James?
This one, what?
You said that inflation was at 11.5%?
That's what it was last year, yes.
So, I'm gonna throw it back to you guys and gals, and let's start with you, Kristen. How do you view what we can do to make up these kinds of differences?
You mean in addition to,
Giving you more money?
yeah.
And I'm not
Yeah, I
trying to
think-
put you on the spot,
yeah,
I just want a good collaborative communication going, that's kind of why I wanted to meet.
I think understanding, that there is a lot of value in helping the school division. For the salary scales, for the benefits, for the transportation. I mean, salary scales, I worked for the schools for 12 years. I worked as support staff, substitute first and then support staff. And I can recall in the early years where there was a support staff whose husband passed away. And she's working as support staff and has 2 boys. And she's working to pay for insurance, basically, and nothing else, nothing extra. I mean, how do you put food on the table? How do you pay for gas? How do you do anything else? So I think just being able to come to an understanding that this is something that's really critical. Like Dr. Cromer said, we can't fill any more positions, but we have to do something because we're gonna continue to lose good employees who have to feed their families. They have to provide, and so working with you all, because I think sometimes I'll just be honest, I think there's been a perception that maybe you all don't really understand the nuts and bolts and the decisions that we have to make about where to cut and what to do. I mean, we've had school board meetings where parents have come and said, why is there only Spanish taught at the high school anymore? Why is there no French? Why is there nothing else taught? Why are we cutting this? Why are we cutting that? Everybody has their own little thing that's important to them, but it's all important. So just knowing that you're hearing us and that you are really considering what we're asking and not just, we have this meeting and then, oh, well, we're just doing level funding this year and we're not doing anything else for you, sorry.
But to my point, we are having a meeting.
I know we are, that's what I'm saying, that's why I'm
good.
saying I'm happy
Right.
about that. I
Right.
think this is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
I'm glad we have it early enough
Exactly.
that we can actually look at it for a change, because usually we catch it right at budget time. And we,
And have more conversations if we need to.
Correct.
It'd be great to do it even earlier than this, quite honestly.
Well, let's face the facts. This goes back to your predecessor. 5 years without requesting any increase, we're gonna pay for it. Because that's had a direct impact. I know funding was there,
Yeah,
but that helped put us in where we're at right now. And we're gonna have to address it. That's my opinion.
Well, again, I mean, I'm not defending Dr. Wheeler or anything. No, I understand.
There could have been funds going to.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, that's part of, at least my recollection of it, when I lived it, 5 or 6 years, less or longer in the tooth, is that it was important to rebuild that trust that had been broken before he got there. And also, just as a good steward of county money and county funds, even maybe some of the school boards, some aren't. Hey, why aren't you asking? Why aren't you asking? We didn't need it. Why ask for something that you don't need? If you can, now granted, do we just want to ask for 300,000 every year? To your point.
Population was higher at the time.
Yeah, well, and it was dropping, but I guess my point being is, it was, in my opinion, it was an effort to be a good steward of county funds and not ask for something we didn't need. Because me personally, I have a real problem with asking for something that we don't need.
And that had happened in the past, and we were really trying to work hard to repair a relationship and restore a sense of trust between the boards, because there were different perceptions that we were asking for more than what we actually needed, so,
You remember, back when Dr. Miller came on, and we did line item budgets for transparency. But everybody knew where everything was going.
Right.
He leaned out that budget over 4 years and asked for extra money.
Right.
He fixed the salary scales, he fixed the, project with the buses. And I made a comment to, Lauren and Casey, and I don't remember who there, and I said, it was a comment about how much we were carrying over. There's an acceptable amount that you're supposed to carry over, and Dr. Miller knew that. And that's what we had gotten to. Well, I made a comment to them. The roofs leak, the asphalt breaks, the buses break. When it comes time, we don't have no more extra money. We're gonna have to come to you all for that money.
Right.
And I was assured that by that other group, yes, we will be there to support you if you give us this type of money. And that we're there.
Yeah.
The asphalt, a check, the asphalt in, you break your leg,
High school.
Yeah.
wherever, right, I'll ask, whatever. I'm just saying, we have roof leak still. We've worked on them, but it's a process. I like what Levi said to me one day up here in the street. We should start identifying areas like asphalt roofs, support staff salaries, and start creating projects, if you will, that we build on so that it's there when we need it. But the problem is, we're there now. So that's something that takes discussion and thought and creativity, in my opinion, so that we can support those deficiencies that we have now that have been left to fester and to get worse and worse every year because we didn't have money to fix it. If that makes sense.
That's why.
I agree with you 100%. I know that we started taking our carryover and putting it into a capital improvement plan.
Right.
I'm not sure what's in there right now. If that's something we can pull from, I don't know. I know we've got a problem with the HVAC system at the high school gym, this sort of thing. This stuff does not last, you know as well as I do. It does not last.
That's on the 05, on the new gym? Yeah.
When we have buses and it's cold and we have to go send another bus to pick up kids, was the bus broke down. That is not acceptable. I know it ain't for any parents.
When was the last time you bought a new bus?
We used all-in funds
Right.
to buy, or the last ESSER funds, we bought a
Okay.
brand new bus then. We,
That was what, in 23?
we bought some used buses.
No, before then, or,
Okay.
that's right,
Yeah,
more recent.
I wanna piggyback some stuff on what James is saying here. Could you go back to that RLE and RLM comparison slide? So, I mean, you guys know our infrastructure, our transportation, and we're trying to recruit and retain qualified staff. But the re-benchmarking and the LCI calculation, I mean, we could see the trend happening here. And if we're not pacing our funding with that gap, we're creating a bigger gap every year. It just gets, the math gets harder year after year to try to correct. And so I guess what's jumping out at me of this is that what if we get to a point where now last year's amount doesn't even meet the required local effort? Now we're really in trouble, so
Well, I don't see how it's going to. It's at 1.7. I mean, let's round up.
The good news is with the biennium, and I don't have it up there, but for FY '28, the effort and the match are pretty baseline. I mean, it's not gonna be until the next, about
Until the next
2 years,
positive
2
next
years from right
positive,
now.
right.
2 years from right now, yeah.
And then, so this one is based on 23, the next one will be based on 25, which will be when we've had a reassessment done, and now real estate values are gonna be even higher, and it's potential that
The difference will be
LCI
greater.
is gonna go way up, and, so it's a lot that goes in here.
Debbie, Jean, like to hear some of your thoughts too?
My thought is, I taught the system for 42 years. When I retired, I can't, you've locked me in with my low salary. You've locked me in. I can't move to a higher place. That's not fair. 42 years of special ed of being kicked and bitten. I could have gone to Montgomery County easily. So you need to think about not just hiring new people. You need to think about what you're doing to all of us old folks that stayed and went through all the budget hearings that you've done, and not getting a raise, but still went in and put forth every effort to make our county look good on paper at the State Department. And we all do better when we have on a new outfit. So how do you think we feel when we go into a building and it's leaking? And you can't start your class on time because overnight, your whole bookshelf with all your personal books that the county didn't buy, that you spent yourself, are now ruined because the roof is leaking. What do you do? As a board, we're locked into the money that you give us. And I really think that you need to understand that teachers need to be felt valued. Our parents need to see wonderful buildings that they're sending their kids to, and they need to feel comfortable putting a child on a bus that's gonna get them there. Those are just basic things. We're not even talking about air conditioning that breaks, or the refrigerator in the cafeteria that breaks. What about the dishwasher that broke at Floyd E? Do you even know how much that dishwasher was gonna cost? But we absorbed it, and we fixed it. I mean, we've got some excellent maintenance people. Thank God we have excellent maintenance people. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. The same thing with the bus garage. I don't know how they do it, but they do. And they do it because we love this county, but it's gonna come to a point where I'm not gonna love love this county because I can't afford to live here. Can't afford to, you know, I need the money to get my children, my personal children, the things that they need. Because I don't have the money. I mean, just within our county, how much is it gonna cost a child to play softball or baseball this year? Look at a teacher's salary and everything that they have to spend. And they wanna be a better teacher, so they go to a conference and they pay for it out of their pocket. Either we help pay them to go to a conference to be the better teacher, you know, or we lose them, or they become, you know, because they don't keep up with what's going on, our SOL scores go down. You're not gonna sell a house. You real estate people are not gonna sell a house for somebody that has children. They're gonna go online and look at our SOL scores and what kind of school system we have.
Same with business.
Yeah, business is not gonna
Business is not
come
gonna
in.
come to your county, because the president comes first to see what kind of school system you have.
Our school system is equal. Our SOL scores are great. Our teachers are doing an exceptional job for what they get paid compared to how many of them come out of Christiansburg. They pass by three and four schools to get here to work for less money.
I think it's a good overall, good return on investment.
It's the camaraderie that we have within that school system. It's a family. Each school is a family and support one another. And you really can't find that at other places. That's where I am, you know, we've got to support.
You know, it's not that we don't hear you, and we don't care, because I had children that come through the schools. I've got grandkids in schools now. But that ambulance that went through a minute ago, we got EMS workers that could go to another county and make $10,000 or $15,000 more a year. We got sheriff's department employees that could go somewhere else and make more money. Every employee we got in this county works because they love this county. We got a pot of money, and we gotta look at all these scales. It's not only y'all. We've got to figure out somewhere there to help sheriff pay his people. We gotta figure out how to get money to get more EMS workers. Like we'd like to get Indian Valley and Locust Grove going. We don't have the money. It's not that we don't wanna give it to you, but we've got to divvy it up where we're fair to everybody.
I find it real embarrassing to go to the high school right now
I understand.
and go past that new gym and you hit 100 potholes. And then the kids that come through to graduate and they have to step in all those mud holes just to get in the door. That's embarrassing for our other counties to see. Sad.
Just off of that point there, I mean, is there not, it's a question, but it's a comment too, but like, with that pothole, I mean, is there not, I'm not talking about a whole new repavement of the whole high school parking lot, but is there not enough money just to fix the potholes?
No.
I mean, I just go back to like, on our board, you know, like, a couple of meetings ago, the Board of Elections came in and hit us and said that they needed 50,000,
yeah.
161,000 for new voting machines. Now, we wasn't expecting that, but we were able to make it happen. You know, the elevators, that's why we're right here right now. The elevators aren't working. You know, we wasn't expecting that, but that was 64,000. So, or higher than
We have 5 elevators that they keep saying need to be upgraded, and it's $100,000 a piece to do them, and we just say, we can't do it, sorry, we'll just have to wait till they break.
And you know, I've told you before, it worries me about these buses.
Mhm.
You know, because if you're down in Burris Creek or that side of,
Yep.
Green Green Mountain.
Showalter Road.
Yeah, or down on Lick Ridge or somewhere like that.
You remember the leaf spring that broke off the one on, Willis Mountain?
You know, it worries me, it really does. And, you know, I just wished I had a magic wand where we could make it go away, but like I say, we just got X amount of money.
Right.
And can I ask Jane too, I really wanted to hear from all of you.
Yeah, I think we need to, do capital, how many homes just go paycheck to paycheck? And something comes up, and then they have to go put it on the car, or borrow it from home beneficial, or whatever, and then they pay back interest. And, it's just need to get ahead and keep a little money ahead. It's called, I guess, the capital improvement fund, right? And where you have this stuff, when all these little things come up, and we know that it's will come up, and that we can go ahead and fix it right on the spot, and save a lot of finance. When I first came over there, they were, the finances, they had it where that they was paying late fees all the time. And then, Cindy, she checked with all the other people. But anyway, we got to where that we put it on there where that you didn't have to wait for the next meeting to approve it. And they had, it's just like us, and we have to go get groceries and get gas and everything else, but we need some money to do it. But if we get ahead somewhat.
In almost 15 years I've been on this board, we've come a long ways, but they keep stretching the tunnel out on us. Every time we think we're getting there, something else comes up, major breakdowns and everything.
So, with this budget, presentation, we would be accomplishing some staff and salary accomplishments.
Huge.
And bus transportation things.
Huge.
But would we make any headway towards the actual, all the maintenance
No,
problems and all
no,
that?
it doesn't even touch it.
So, the next question would be, how long will we then be in good standing for the salary?
Oh, it's a constant,
So, that's what I'm saying, will we ever then get to a point to where,
and we don't wanna, we realize we're not gonna beat Montgomery County, we just wanna be closer.
Right.
And so, the
but
salaries
like if
that.
this year's focused on salaries and buses,
Mhm.
and then, next year, the next year, are we still on salary and buses, or are we gonna try to make headway on the parking lots?
Well, we're still gonna have to be on buses for a couple years.
Yeah.
I was just gonna make a comment on that too, going back to Dr. Wheeler's little, his teacher scale. Again, I think his goal was to be in the top 5 in the area in those major milestones, like at step 5, step 10, step 15, step 20. And again, if I was doing it personally, I may not have done it that way, but that's the way he did it. So
what happened to that?
Well, so what I'm gonna say is I think what's happened is when he, it's probably been 6-7 years ago now, if not longer, I think, one, it's just kind of the compounding effect of, we were like 5th and out of top 13 he picked or whatever. But the problem is too, so then from that point on, we never really closed the gap per se, I don't think. So when you're throwing, let's say 3% on 50,000 versus 3% on 40,000, next year 2.5% on 2.5%, we're giving our employees the state suggested raise, but it's just it's just they're still separating the gap because their percentage is from a bigger starting number, and I think that's why that's why it's separated there.
That's where I was going on those. That's what I mean. I know it was built in trust, but in that process of building trust, we fell behind.
Yeah, this one right here.
We could have been contributing
Yeah.
to keep
Mhm.
this, because at one point in time,
Yeah.
I saw the figures during one of my tenures. We were only $1,000 behind Montgomery County at one point in time.
And-
Money,
And at one point, we actually kind of artificially put our starting salary a little bit higher to
Right.
attract more people, but then
Yes, I remember
you got to like
Right,
year
but-
10, and then we still dropped down to 5,
right,
you know, like we
but
were
that's
still.
where I was going with that. And for me, that's what we need to pick up. With the budget you're projecting right now, where does it put you within the range there?
Second,
So it would put it above the 50,
above Patrick, yeah.
above that.
And two, another variable that we can't control, you know, we can look at the numbers, but we don't know if Montgomery County is gonna give the states.
Yeah, right.
Like, I know some years she'll go to a superintendent's meeting and they're like, oh, we're giving 5.5% this year. Well, how?
Yeah.
So there are variables outside of our control because they got the money.
We're never gonna top it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
There's just no way.
And that ain't
Yep.
what we shoot for.
No.
I know it's not, but I understand that. We're never gonna top it.
Yeah.
We don't always have to be last, but we're probably not gonna be first.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
You know,
Or not.
we're gonna have to play in that range.
Mhm.
But the labor pool that,
We did that salary scale study, it was 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Maybe a little
Oh
longer.
my, it's 10.
I know by the
10.
time we got that done,
Mm-hmm.
we've been 5 years behind
Mm-hmm.
even. So-
I mean, we're talking about the county.
Yeah,
it's
County wide. Yeah, this,
another challenge, just to compound on that, is just the labor pool. I mean, there are just so few people that apply for some of these positions. I mean, Dr. Cromer can talk about it a lot more, but sometimes we'll advertise a position and we'll get 1 or 2 people. You know, and that's kind of like after Montgomery County's already done their hires, and so it's hard, you know, it's hard, you can't put out competitive benefits.
AI is not gonna take away a teacher, so.
No, absolutely
And a lot
not.
of folks are losing their jobs that are coming out of college, so there may be somehow a silver lining in maybe teacher ranks growing,
Career
because people
switchers.
see you know, that's just my Pollyanna-ish
Yeah, but
concept.
unfortunately, it's gonna be several years.
Yeah, I know.
You know, build up before it
I know.
happens.
So here's a question, and, you know, if any of you have seen me here, I will sometimes ask these, like, just questions that have always made me think, and I'm just gonna ask you. You've been on the job 11 years. Have you ever, like, stripped it down? Like, just stripped what our budget is, stripped it back down and started looking at things with a new lens? What do I mean by that?
Yes.
So what I mean by that is we tend to fall into patterns, and sometimes it takes, you know, and it's not gonna be done between now and July 1. I'm not saying that. But have you ever really, I mean, you're in this now for a while, and I respect you, you know that. But have you ever sort of like drawn back the curtains and said, golly day, how is it we've been doing it this way when if we did it this way, we might be able to save? I don't know.
Oh, man, yeah, I can go on I could go on for days about it. I think that from a high level, and this percentage has always been true, so when you look at the bottom dollar of our budget, I think now it's 82 or 83% is straight salary and benefits right out of the gate. And so, you know, that's gonna leave you that 15 to 17% to manage, but of that 15 to 17, and I don't have the number in front of me, it's going straight into transportation, maintenance, and technology.
Right.
Because, you know, of all the software and hardware needs that, you know, that the schools have, again, the increased price costs with, you know, maintenance and transportation, that, I mean, there is such a small pot that is truly going to instruction. Okay, I mean, teachers and salaries, so.
Yes, so that's what I was gonna ask, like, what is,
Mhm.
like, where does instruction fall in that? I mean, is that being absorbed with teacher salaries? Because they are the instructor. But
I think instruction's probably suffered more than any category in our budget, in my opinion.
Featured in.
yeah, that's
I
kind of
think
where I
it-
was, you know,
Yeah,
where I was going. I sometimes take that
It
kind of
is-
windy road, and I'm so used to driving.
You go around the holler.
I do, a couple. I have to do that when I drive.
And, like you said, most of that instruction is based on that instructor. Teaching is an intensely personal,
Yeah.
endeavor, and it's based on the person that's doing it. I will also say, to answer your question about the lenses, I feel like I do that every day, because that's how we've had to get creative. We've had to say, well, we have no applicants for a school counselor. Could we call it something different? Could we do with just one here and get a psychologist intern instead? That's a little bit cheaper, that, you know, could do some of the higher tier, like, I feel like every problem is how do we do this before we even consider how it's being done? It's how can we not interfere on the services with our students
Right.
and still get the job done with what we have? And I'll just say, because I know there's a lot of conversation going, I don't want you to feel like we're saying you know, to Mr. Terman's point, that we know you care about this community. You're choosing to serve
Right.
your community. And I don't envy you, because we come at this from the school perspective, because that's our job, is to think about the students and the school and in the broader community aspect of how we impact the community. But you all have got to consider everything and the whole quality of life. And there's a lot in Floyd that does need attention. You know, we drive ourselves to the hospital.
Right.
We don't throw our trash away for weeks. We've got to drive 5 more miles to do it, or pay money to do it. And the potholes, you got to drive on the other side of the road to get to work. And then your school bus is broken down on the side of the road, and they have a new teacher every year because the teachers we train go work somewhere else. So there's a lot on your plate, and we are not saying we are the most important. You have a lot to determine, and we don't envy that position. And again, we value the trust you've placed in us, because we are transparent. We try to be as efficient as possible. As you can see, we've been so efficient that we've almost hurt ourselves with that.
Right.
So we just wanted and are grateful for the opportunity to show you that this is where we are. We're grateful for the trust, but sometimes because you just say, oh, we'll give you your money, you do what you want to, you don't always know that this is how we rank and that sort of thing. So we appreciate being able to share that.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I was wanting to do this, because this is important. I don't think anybody in this room knows the level of, I mean, you know, I'll echo what the chairman said. I mean, I'm still involved, you know, and you know, 2 out of 4 of us have served as substitute teachers over the course of time, and you know, I truly, I mean, I have 3 children that have gone through the system and are outstanding young adults because of it, and I know it was the education they received. So you know the level of commitment I have, and
Would you comment on your question about what these two, everybody.
yeah, oh, I know,
does
yeah.
about creativity? At the school board office, I've watched her, you know, change job descriptions because of this.
Right.
We used to have a superintendent, assistant superintendent, we now have directors.
Correct.
It's less work.
Right.
So yes, every day, there's creativity at school. I can't comment at school, I'm not there. The school board office, yes.
The reason I ask questions like this is so that everybody can hear those answers.
I'll also say, you mentioned substitutes, we are in need of those, so if you'd like to drive a bus or substitute, we would still love, that would be great first-hand knowledge that you could have.
Want me to put on another hat?
Yes, yes.
That's you love, don't you love people? You know, I can't help but sit here and think, you know, my granddaughter teaches in Carroll County. I hear the same argument coming out of her mouth. You know, when they get talking about, but I've begged her to come down here, but she is a fancy gal. She would come down here if she didn't have to drive so far. But I remember times that, she was telling about all the, she'd have to buy stuff for her students because they didn't have the money. And, I said, what are they doing with it? Because they get a lot more money than we get, I guess it's all.
There's a lot more that teachers do than I think anybody knows. The number of teachers that will put out an email within their school and say, I have a student who needs a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
They don't have the insurance, they can't buy them. Can you help? I raised over $400 for a kid to get glasses. Coats and clothes that our teachers out of their own pocket will buy for those students. You just, I just don't think anyone knows what a teacher does.
County realizes.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and I'll tell you, I mean, we're seeing it firsthand with what we're doing with housing and what we're finding. And it is those children that are in situations like that, so, yeah.
Most of them got blinders, really. They
Yeah.
only see what affects them. They don't look at what's affecting other kids around them. It takes a special person to be a teacher or a nurse.
Absolutely.
Or one.
I wouldn't make it a half a day. I'd be over, they'd haul me over to the jail. Y'all put up with some of what y'all put up with. I back in the old days where a teacher walked by and do that and straightened up. You can't even look. Oh, them rulers was rough, but, you can't even look at them cross-eyed, much less now. But,
Nope. The prices are always moving up.
Yeah.
When I got out of school, when I got a job, Pittsburgh paying $2 a night, big money.
Yeah.
But how many people could work for $2 an hour today?
Yeah.
Everything goes up, and all my life, I cannot remember when prices did not go up, and it's gonna be out in the future, it's gonna start going. We just have to adjust, and, what do we do when the prices go up? We try to find more money, get a better job. Or if you're a union, get a raise,
Well, that's what I wanted, that's why I think this communications between all of us is so important. And, yeah, I just, if we're not talking to each other, then we don't know.
You just like.
Yeah, we are.
Right,
We
100%.
absolutely are.
I got a couple questions. This competitive salary thing over here,
Mhm.
have you factored in of your word, you said that we could move up into, under Montgomery County with what y'all proposing?
Yeah.
Have we factored in the fact that if they get 5% raises, that's all factored in there?
We factored in that
I'm
too.
just
Yeah, we did,
giving that
because
as
we had that, we didn't wanna start off still at the bottom.
Right.
So the governor's budget has a 2% proposed, raise, so we applied a 2% raise to all those neighboring divisions to see what it would be as to
But
where
you don't
we.
know what they're really gonna do.
Yeah, we don't know
You
what they're really, the governor's proposing to, they may be able to do 3, they may only do 1,
Right,
it's,
right.
or they
it's,
may do 10.
They may.
Let me
Again,
ask
you
this,
don't know.
on the buses, have y'all considered on the medium-sized buses, or have you thrown that into the process?
we have,
Because I remember one meeting, you said y'all would save maybe 20,000 a bus or something of that nature.
it was, yeah,
And 4 or 5 buses, you could actually get an extra bus.
right.
correct? Okay.
So we have looked at that, it's 15,000 less for,
Okay, 15, okay.
15,000 less for a medium-sized bus.
Right.
So, we talked with our transportation director, the number of routes that could hold a medium-sized bus was 2,
Maybe
2 or 3 routes.
I see 2 or 3 buses come by my house that's got 2 or 3 children on it.
Well, and it depends on, is it a sports season, are kids playing sports? Is it, whereas, is it in the route? But according to our route sheets and what the bus drivers report as being a rider at some point, to hold them, we could only, really, our fleet use 2 or 3 of those.
The way to measure what a bus has is you need to sit and watch the buses leave Floyd Elementary, Check Elementary,
Yes.
Willis Elementary, and Indian Valley Elementary, and then go up to the high school with the Floyd E kids, and you watch every single one of those buses go, and there's not a seat available
And
out of Floyd E.
we have reduced routes over the past to save money. We've
Right.
reduced routes, so we're not paying the driver, and they're just longer bus routes for students. But the way our county is so large, Mr. Robertson, we've looked and we don't know of any other route.
Right.
It would be ridiculously long ride times. I mean, we're over an hour in some cases now. Like this morning's call had to come out. The buses start at 6. Some of them start at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So when we're talking 2-hour delay, we're talking 8 o'clock, and that's not a lot of time to get things done. So, but yes, we have, and even that's $45,000. That wouldn't buy us another bus. We would think if we could.
Not a whole one.
And I'm intrigued by those medium-sized buses. I've been
Yeah.
pushing back for 2 or 3 years on it, and I do that really with everything. Really. You know, like, but I just think it's intriguing.
We've been talking about here on the other meetings, that, are they figured into this budget also?
No.
Because that's really an insurance and liability factor.
It's awful.
As far as in holes and everything.
It's awful. It is really awful. So, you know, speaking particularly the ones there at the high school, we have filled them multiple times, and they're too large.
I've drove through there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
made a point to,
Yeah, it's bad. So we looked at just that strip, you know, could we just repave that strip? It's so bad it has to be dug up and repaved. That's about $70,000 just for that strip. Well, the whole parking lot has holes and cracks and grass growing up in it.
I've seen the
Yeah.
cracks and stuff there.
So the whole thing needs to be done, and it's not really efficient to spend $70,000 that we don't have budgeted in the budget to, out of our capital improvement fund, to just do that strip when the whole thing needs it. So that's where we're working to do a capital improvement plan to show like what asphalt needs to replace, kind of like the bus sheet. We're gonna have like what projects need to be done now, what projects need in the next 1 to 3 years, so we can start planning. Okay, we're anticipating the HVAC on the new gym it needs to be done. Well, that's $800,000, but when we quoted it last year, so I don't even know what it would be this year.
I'll let you follow up, just one question back
Okay,
on
good.
that. But like with this budget,
Mm-mm.
if it's gonna cost, let's go back to the HVAC, $800,000.
Mhm.
So would any of these budgets, this budget or anything, go ahead and start putting anything like 50,000 towards
I mean,
or
that
anything?
was one thing we put in last year's budget. There's a capital outlay, I think that used to be many years ago used for things like that, and that was one of the things that got emptied when we absorbed. So we had started with, I think it was 30,000 we put in
30
there
or
last
50,
year.
I don't remember.
Just
30
to
or 50.
start putting away 20,000, you know, to start building up that capital improvement fund so that it's not such a big asphalt. It's a little bit at a time, but
But
So
again,
y'all-
if
y'all
you,
do that each budget,
no.
or you don't?
No, we wanted to start that last year, we were unable to. We didn't even cover that here, one, because we want more information too about what needs to be done in priority with our capital improvement plan. And these are just such overarching needs. It sounds bad, we can catch some leaks if we can have good teachers and safe ways to get kids into school.
and for what it's worth too, I mean, these are the budget priorities. If it was, hey, put $250,000 in a capital improvement line, then it would come out of employer portion of health insurance. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, there's money in there with this proposed budget.
I understand what you're saying, but these parking lots at these schools is a major problem. I mean, you know, just a liability. If one of them buses pop around through that parking lot, pop a piece of that asphalt up and comes over and hits a child, I mean, you know, that's bad. I hate to be negative, but I mean, you
But you
know,
gotta think about it.
these parking lots can't be put off for another 3 or 4 or 5 years. So
Well,
I'm
you
just
got
saying right
19
here.
buses that are driving students that are 8 critical condition and 8 that need to be replaced, and
Ain't critical.
11 need to be replaced, and that's 19.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we can go round and round and round. We've got another meeting now.
Like the wheels on the bus.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys, and again, this is an opportunity. I mean, again, I hope that there's no insinuation that any of this issue is by any means, the Board of Supervisors' fault. It's not. But it is an opportunity, and the people in this room do have the ability to go a long ways in getting where we want to be. And for me personally, I just want to make sure always, from a financial or from a numbers question, my doors is always open. My numbers, call me, come see me. We can sit down and we can work through any of this. And it is, I like the communication. I don't like the once a year thing that I get to get in front of you guys. So, but it's always open for me.
Just remember, his thoughts are 2 cents. So
They're
you're
$1.
gonna be there for a while.
They're $1. Yeah.
Don't Proverbs say it, the longest journey starts with one step.
That's right. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, we appreciate you taking the time to sit down and listen to what we have to say.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll be doing it again once we get further in and we see what the state is
Yep.
actually doing,
Is the state know what they're doing yet?
No, that's why I said when we see what they're doing.
The Senate and House that released their budgets on Sunday,
Yeah.
and there's some differences, and so we'll wait to see what.
Yep.
And then we have to see what the governor does with what they decide.
Right.
Did you guys see the nuclear list, the RFI? Have you seen that yet? It just came out literally from the EPA. There's, just might be something to
Is it electric?
look into. I think some of it is, but it's
We ran
$5
into
billion
electric.
over 5 years. It's about EPA offers up to 200, it doesn't have to be every bus, but if there's, you
We
can
have two of
supplement
those.
by, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but we have 2 of those that we use around this area right here. But we
They can't go
can't,
further.
They
Well,
run
it's
Floyd and
cold.
high school, they run Floyd routes. That's-
Yeah, that are close by.
It just came up, it
And-
literally just popped up, and I was like,
We got 2 because it was 100%
You know,
free at the
something on
time,
Facebook.
but now there's a lot of, you have to provide so much.
Not 100% free now, or?
No, and that's the only ones we're interested in are free ones.
yeah, she said EPA is offering 250,000 per bus, but to your point.
Oh, and
it's
they're
electric-
400 and some
electric
thousand.
mileage.
400 some thousand for
And
electric.
I think
In
a lot
the
of these
state breakdown,
localities-
you gotta send them to specialized people.
we have to take
Those
advantage of
localities.
that.
Yep.
These 2 we have now, we don't just throw them to landfill. We're gonna spend a lot of money.
Well, we gonna run them
Buy
till
new
they're.
ones, we were told that new average of 40,000 a piece.
Yeah.
That was 2 years ago.
Yep.
And it probably costs you that much to dispose of the
That's
old
what I'm
ones.
thinking also.
There's a lot of these localities that's got a lot of electric buses that got buyer's remorse. Because like you said, to get rid of the batteries, to upgrade the buses, check all the wiring, all this stuff goes with it. It's costing a lot more.
But we did, because of me causing a headache for Paul. I wanted to know what the cost was, and I think it is
It
more
saves,
efficient money-wise than use 200 buses.
Yeah.
but it
Right
takes,
now.
but it takes
Sure,
20
but
years
But on
to
the back
recoup
end,
that.
it ain't gonna be much.
Until you have to fix it.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you get the grant money to buy it.
Right,
That was the
right,
whole idea.
that, we had 2
You
brand
know,
new
there was
buses.
there was one thing that one of you made a comment of, but I also wanna say to you, you are public servants too. And I just want to recognize that for anyone that may be watching as well. You serve in a sense as a public servant, and, that's admirable as well, so I just wanted to return the compliment.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's a good segue, huh? That's what I do.
Yeah, in Germany first.
Get a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Oh, all in favor, say aye.
And I guess we would just recess.
No, we
Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
just unplug this.